Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the diplomatic agreement that's been reached between the UK and the EU over the imminent end of Northern Ireland Protocol grace periods, which really happened yesterday. The agreement is not a long-term solution. It's not even a formal short-term solution. It's been stated that it's to allow for the possibility that a better agreement can be reached later. But we know this isn't going to happen with the Tories in government. So you have to wonder if the EU are only agreeing to it because they believe that they are maybe less than 3 years away from actually being able to have an adult conversation with the UK. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So the Northern Ireland Protocol is essentially a matter of international law and diplomacy. The government constantly tried to convince the British public that the EU are the ones breaching the agreement, and this is why the UK government are saying they need to renegotiate the whole thing from scratch. Just throw it in the bin, start again. But the rest of the world knows the reality. The only reason some of the British public fall for this line is that the British media are in on the con. None of the rest of the world's media are attempting to hoodwink their own populations on this matter. It's like trying to get your mum to agree to let you to go to a festival on your own by persuading your friends that it's a good idea. It's not actually going to get you what you want. The fundamental issue is that Brexit is not compatible with the Good Friday Agreement, and that the Good Friday Agreement is absolutely essential to peace in Northern Ireland. It would have been fine if we'd remained in the single market and customs union, but we didn't. The Northern Ireland Protocol came into being purely to be a fudge to allow a seamless join between the parts of Ireland at the cost of cracks between Britain and Northern Ireland. Now the Tories who created this situation say, well, we don't like the cracks. More, they're saying, well, we didn't even realise there would be cracks, even though everyone pointed it out to them. As soon as they published their protocol, everyone said, cracks. And they said, no, we see no cracks. So we're now in a position whereby the UK government are claiming that the intended application of the protocol was not intended and is unacceptable. But they have no alternative plans. You try and ask them, so what's your alternative then? There's nothing. That's because they know there is no palatable alternative plan. You know, the legal, internationally legal alternative plans are UK rejoins the single market and customs union. Well, the Tories don't want that. The Republic of Ireland rejoins the UK. That's not happening. I mean, that's it. Or you have a hard border inside Ireland. Again, no, that's not happening. So they don't come up with their own plans. They say it's for the EU to come up with alternatives to this thing they don't like. You know, trade borders require paperwork and checks. It's really all that is simple. And it's the UK that said they wanted a trade border there. There's no paperwork or checks for goods passing from Ireland to Britain. It is only one way, but that's the UK's decision to allow for easy smuggling across their border. Neither any part of Ireland or the wider EU wanted Brexit, so they should not have to accept easy smuggling into their own territories, and they don't want to. But because a hard Brexit would have presented a massive disruption to trade between two parts of the UK, grace periods were allowed, you know, certain parts of the extreme Tory Brexit delayed so that the measures could be phased in over time, giving businesses and people time to adapt. But the grace periods represented risks to the single market. They allow smugglers massive openings. So they were relatively short-lived. But the UK wants the grace periods to remain indefinitely. They've tried to say that they should remain in place until a comprehensive agreement has been reached. Well, the EU Commission aren't stupid. They know that the Tories will never agree a comprehensive settlement, so the grace periods would just remain forever. They also know that formally agreeing to even an extension would mean an endless series of requests to extend them again, and it would be hard to say no because they'd agreed earlier. So what's happened is that the UK have unilaterally extended these grace periods. We've been doing it ever since last year. And the EU have either objected, as they did the first time we did it, or not objected. So yesterday, another deadline came and went. As usual, the UK government said, no, we're keeping the grace periods in place, as if they're still legal, which they're not now. On this occasion, the EU Commission has agreed not to object. It's not agreeing. It's not formally agreeing to an extension. It's not saying they're fine with it, but they're not going to formally object. They're not going to start new legal action, basically. The stated reason is to allow breathing space for negotiations to continue. But let's be honest, The negotiations aren't going anywhere. They're never going anywhere. The Tory party's in the grip of the ERG, who never wanted the protocol in the first place. They only voted for it in Parliament because Boris Johnson promised them privately to scrap it as soon as we left the EU. I said earlier that the protocol only existed to maintain the Good Friday Agreement. But to these Tories, it represented something else. It existed as a Trojan horse to get Brexit through Parliament when the majority of MPs would never go along with their vision for a no-deal Brexit. But now that we've left the EU, they still want their no-deal Brexit. The inevitable consequence of actually scrapping the protocol would be the EU being forced to dissolve the Trading Cooperation Agreement. That's the no-deal Brexit. This is no threat to the ERG because they didn't want the Trading Cooperation Agreement. They want Britain to become a pirate haven where they make piles of cash without any government oversight over their business practices. They want no ties at all with the trading bloc with the highest standards of transparency and business ethics in the world. And we can see this pirate Britain forming in the short term through their so-called Freeport scheme. And the ERG think they are so tantalisingly close to getting what they want. The Northern Ireland Protocol Bill is passing through Parliament. Now, it may not be passed, of course, but if it is, they will pressure Truss into using it and to hell with international consequences. So this move by the EU to not object could be seen as an attempt to avoid giving excuses to the ERG, but it's not a long-term plan. The ERG aren't bellyaching about the end of the grace periods. They're moaning about the bits of the protocol that have already been implemented. Nothing the EU can legally agree to would satisfy them. Some of them have tried suggesting that the obvious solution, as I said earlier, is for Ireland to leave the EU, and rejoin the UK. That's how insane they are. That is what they think is a more palatable solution. Practical solutions are of no interest to them. And the inevitable trajectory of this is a trade war that the UK cannot win. So why don't the EU just expedite matters, insist that the protocol be implemented as agreed and get on with it? Well, in theory, there are three possibilities. The first is that this is not the right time for a bust-up when unity against Russia's aggression is really important. It's obvious that this is just a holding position. Whatever the explanation, it's a holding position, and it's possible that it's a holding position for another year to allow time to deal with the raging man-child to their east before they worry about the slightly less insane man-child to their north. Second, it could be that the Commission is just being weak. I've said a few times that, you look at them and they keep failing to take strong action against anti-democratic moves by, say, Poland and especially Hungary. When it comes to this attempt at a united front against Russia, Orban sticks a spanner in it every time. Yet he continues to be appeased by the Commission in return for not behaving even worse. It's like letting your screaming brat have the chocolate bar when out shopping. Fatal. Short-term respite, long-term pain. But third, it may just be that this is a holding position until the UK gets a sensible government. Because obviously the EU would have to react if Truss actually dismantled the protocol, rather than just maintaining some grace periods. There is a point at which they have to be pushed too far and they dissolve the Trading Cooperation Agreement. But Truss is likely to understand that she daren't force the EU into this position. Arguably, the most visible consequence of something like this would be air travel basically knackered. Like with that, there's all sorts of aspects of the Trading Cooperation Agreement that people are just not familiar with. It doesn't just hit British exports even harder, which would be bad enough. Like British-based planes, they need agreement to fly into the EU. The agreement's in the Trading Cooperation Agreement. You dissolve that, you can't fly. That's just one consequence. It's also and again, this is something that's not ideal for the EU either. The EU would like to avoid this. So Truss will do what she can to placate the ERG short of career-ending trade war with the EU, a trade war that 2 US presidents have tried in my lifetime and both failed. How on earth will we cope? But here's the situation. A trade war would have very long-lasting impacts around Europe. It wouldn't just hurt while it's taking place. It could cause permanent damage to both trade and relationships. But this Tory government looks like being on its last legs. Labour are maintaining at the moment a 10-point lead over the Conservatives, even though the now unpopular Boris Johnson has been well and truly ousted. They may still be experiencing a bounce back. It may still get closer in these polls. But it'll be wiped out again as the recession bites next year. and as more of the public see what Liz Truss is like. At the moment, she's getting her honeymoon period. You know, these tiresome squabbles over the Northern Ireland Protocol, they've been happening since basically day one of the UK leaving the single market. You know, it was like the day before we left the single market, Northern Ireland Protocol, brilliant, said Boris Johnson, brilliant. Let's Northern Ireland have the best of both worlds. Absolutely superb. I should be proud of myself for delivering it. Day after we implemented, it's trash this. What do you mean it says that? What do you mean? Cracks? Cracks? What? And they've been doing that for over a year and a half. But the EU are used to long-term negotiations. In fact, it's not unusual for trade negotiations to last a decade or more with major markets. So experienced EU commissioners and officials are going to be fairly comfortable playing the long game here. It's possible that they're just working to keep a lid on things. Couple more years before the next UK general election. If we make it that far, then we can have a more mature government whose policies include closer cooperation, not divergence, and we won't have had to trash international relationships with a damaging trade war. You know, it may well be that the EU's long-term plan is to just sit it out, to keep Truss thinking she's got just enough movement, sit out their time in power, and there we go. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.